In the deepest parts of the ocean, where sunlight slowly fades into darkness and silence, rules the blue abyss. Stories have been whispered for thousands of years. Stories of creatures half human, half fish. Creatures with haunting voices and shimmering tails. The world knows them as mermaids. But where did this legend begin? Were mermaids simply imagination? Or were they inspired by something real? Long before satellites mapped the oceans, the sea was a terrifying mystery. Ancient sailors sailed into endless blue horizons without knowing what waited beneath them. Storms could appear without warning. Ships vanished. Strange sounds echoed across the water at night. And in this uncertainty, legends were born. One of the earliest known mermaid-like figures comes from ancient Assyria. Around 1000 BCE, there was a goddess named Atargatis. According to myth, she transformed herself into a being with the body of a fish and the upper body of a woman. This may have been one of the first recorded mermaids in history. From there, similar beings began appearing in cultures around the world. In ancient Greece, sailors told stories of sirens, beautiful beings who sang enchanting songs, luring ships toward dangerous rocks. Although sirens were originally described as bird-like creatures, over time they merged with mermaid imagery. The idea of a beautiful ocean woman with a deadly voice became deeply rooted in storytelling. Centuries later, in medieval Europe, mermaids appeared in artwork, carvings, and church decorations. They were symbols of temptation, danger, and mystery. Sailors believed spotting a mermaid was an omen, often a warning of disaster at sea. But legends don't spread worldwide without reason. Across continents, different cultures had their own versions. In Africa, there was Mami Wata, a powerful water spirit often depicted as a beautiful woman connected to the sea. In Japan, there were tales of Ningyo, fish-like beings whose flesh could grant immortality. In Ireland and Scotland, selkies were said to be seals that could shed their skin and become human. How could so many cultures describe such similar creatures? One possible explanation lies in human perception. Imagine being a sailor in the 1400s. You have been at sea for months. You are exhausted, dehydrated. You haven't seen land or a familiar face in weeks. One evening, in the distance, you see something rise from the water. A figure with long hair, a curved body, moving gracefully through the waves. In reality, it may have been a manatee or a dugong, marine mammals with rounded tails and human-like movements. When viewed from afar, especially in poor light, these animals can appear strangely humanoid. Even Christopher Columbus once reported seeing mermaids during his voyage to the Americas. He described them as not as beautiful as legends claimed, which suggests he may have seen manatees. Science tells us that the human brain is wired to recognize faces and human shapes, even when they aren't really there. This phenomenon is called pareidolia. It explains why we see shapes in clouds, faces on Mars, and perhaps mermaids in the sea. But the invention of mermaids wasn't just about misidentification. It was also about storytelling. The ocean was unpredictable and dangerous. By creating mystical beings, people gave meaning to the unknown. A shipwreck wasn't just bad weather. It was the curse of a mermaid. Strange singing in the wind wasn't just echoes. It was a siren's call. Then came the age of exploration and curiosity. In the 16th and 17th centuries, so-called mermaid bodies began appearing in exhibitions. These were often hoaxes. Monkey torsos stitched onto fish tails, dried and displayed as real creatures. People paid money to see them. Fear and fascination became business. In the 1800s, showman P.T. Barnum famously exhibited the Fiji mermaid, which was later revealed to be a fabricated specimen. Yet thousands came to see it. Why? Because people wanted to believe. They wanted magic to exist in the world. As science advanced, oceans were explored more deeply. Submarines, sonar technology, and underwater cameras mapped the sea floor. We discovered new species: glowing jellyfish, giant squids, bioluminescent fish. Yet, despite exploring more than ever, no scientific evidence of mermaids has ever been found, and still the legend survives. In 1837, Hans Christian Andersen published The Little Mermaid, transforming the mermaid from a dangerous seductress into a tragic, romantic figure longing for humanity. This changed how the world saw mermaids forever. No longer monsters of the deep. They became symbols of love, sacrifice, and longing. In the 20th century, Hollywood and animation strengthened the image. Mermaids became beautiful, kind, adventurous. Pop culture embraced them. Children grew up dreaming of underwater kingdoms and sparkling tales. But even today, mysterious stories continue. Occasionally, videos appear online claiming to show mermaids washed ashore. Some are clearly fake. Others are clever digital creations. Yet millions watch and wonder, what if? The truth is, the ocean remains largely unexplored. Scientists estimate that more than 80% of the ocean is still unmapped and unseen by humans. Strange sounds, unknown species, and deep sea mysteries are still being discovered every year. Could evolution ever create a human-like aquatic species? From a biological perspective, it would be extremely unlikely. Humans evolved from land mammals. Returning fully to the ocean would require millions of years of dramatic evolutionary changes. Lungs adapted for underwater breathing, body temperature regulation, altered skeletal structure, and more. Marine mammals like whales and dolphins did evolve from land ancestors, but they are not half-human hybrids. Evolution does not combine two fully developed species into one mythical being. So if mermaids were not real creatures, what were they? They were fear. They were hope. They were loneliness. They were the imagination of sailors staring at endless water. They were warnings told to children. They were metaphors for temptation and danger. They were art carved into stone churches. They were stories whispered around campfires. Mermaids were humanity's way of giving the ocean a face. In a world where storms destroyed ships and maps ended at the horizon, mermaids filled the silence with meaning. Today, we may not believe in them the same way ancient sailors did, but we still tell their stories. We still create films, books, and art about them, because deep inside, humans are storytellers. We crave mystery. And perhaps that is the real invention of the mermaid. Not a creature of flesh and bone, but a creation of imagination shaped by fear, beauty, and the vast unknown sea. The ocean still holds secrets. Strange creatures continue to be discovered in the deep, and as long as the sea remains mysterious, the legend of mermaids will never fully disappear. Because sometimes, the most powerful creatures are not the ones that exist in reality, but the ones that exist in our minds. And somewhere, in the quiet rhythm of waves beneath the moonlight, the story continues. The North Sea has never been gentle. Stretching between the coasts of United Kingdom, Norway, Denmark, Germany, and Netherlands, its waters are cold, gray, and unpredictable. Thick fog rolls in without warning. Storms rise like walls. For centuries, fishermen and sailors have respected this sea, because it does not forgive mistakes. But hidden within its freezing waves is a legend far older than modern maps. Unlike the tropical mermaids of warm blue oceans, the North Sea mermaids were said to be pale, silent, and sorrowful. Scottish and Norwegian fishermen told stories of sea, women sitting on black rocks during winter dusk, their long wet hair blowing violently in the wind. They did not sing sweet songs, they watched. In the coastal villages of Scotland's northern islands, sailors spoke of blue women of the Minch, spirits of the sea who appeared before violent storms. If a sailor saw one, it meant the ocean would soon turn deadly. Some believed these beings were not evil, but warnings sent by the sea itself. Further north, in Norway, old tales described Hafru, sea maidens who lived beneath the icy waves. Unlike fairy tale versions, these creatures were connected to tragedy. They were believed to be the spirits of drowned women, forever tied to the cold depths. Some legends claimed they could predict death. Others said they caused it. The North Sea has swallowed thousands of ships throughout history. From Viking longboats to World War vessels, the seabed is a graveyard of wood and steel. When ships disappeared without explanation, people searched for meaning, and meaning often took the shape of something human, something watching from beneath the water. In the 15th century, there were written accounts from Dutch coastal towns claiming that a sea woman had been captured after a storm surge flooded the land. According to legend, she lived among humans for years but never spoke. Historians believe this story was likely symbolic, possibly inspired by a stranded marine animal or folklore merging with reality. Even oil rig workers in the modern era have shared strange experiences. The North Sea is one of the world's busiest offshore drilling regions. Workers report eerie sounds at night, metallic echoes, distant cries carried through fog. While science explains these as wind patterns and industrial noise, the human imagination fills the silence differently. The truth is, the North Sea creates illusions. Its waters are dark and rich with marine life. Seals surface quietly near boats. Porpoises move in curved shapes beneath the waves. In low light, a seal lifting its head from the water can appear almost human, especially to someone alone in rough seas. And then there is the psychological factor: long hours in isolation, endless gray horizons. The mind begins to search for shapes, stories, companions. In dangerous environments, the brain becomes hyper-aware. Every shadow feels alive. Yet what makes the North Sea mermaid legend unique is its emotional tone. These were not glamorous creatures with shining shells and beautiful smiles. They were symbols of loneliness, grief, and warning. They represented the sea's power over human life. If you respected the sea, you might survive. If you ignored its signs, you might join the spirits beneath it. Even today, in small coastal villages in Scotland and Norway, mermaid carvings can be found in old churches and harbors. Not as fantasy, but as reminders of the sea's mystery. Modern sonar scans have mapped much of the North Sea floor. Scientists have discovered ancient submerged forests, shipwrecks, and even traces of Doggerland, a lost landmass that once connected Britain to mainland Europe thousands of years ago. Entire human communities now lie beneath those cold waters. Think about that. Real human history is buried under the North Sea. Lost homes, lost lives, lost stories. Perhaps the mermaids of this region were never meant to be physical creatures. Perhaps they were the sea's memory, the idea that the water remembers those it has taken. No scientific evidence has ever confirmed the existence of mermaids in the North Sea. Marine biology explains the sightings. Psychology explains the fear. History explains the tragedies. And yet, stand on a North Sea cliff during winter. Watch the waves crash under a pale sky. Listen to the wind howl through the rocks. In that moment, it doesn't feel impossible that something could be watching from below. The North Sea is not warm. It is not welcoming. It is ancient, heavy, and quiet. And in its silence, legends still breathe. Because sometimes, the coldest waters create the deepest myths.